Hello everyone, and welcome to my latest video titled How to Heal the Worthiness Wound. So this video is going to sort of play off the video that went out last week, which was titled What is a Trauma Spiral? The reason why this is going to play off the last video of what is a trauma spiral, because if you think about it, what sort of lives at the core of a trauma? Something happens to you, some experience, some break in connection, potentially some abuse of some kind or some situation. It brings up a sense of maybe self-disgust. It brings up a sense of maybe internal shame, internal anger towards yourself. But at the core of all that is a sense of unworthiness, that we experienced some form of trauma, some form of injustice that leads to us not feeling like a worthy person. We feel unworthy. So at the core of that is unworthiness. And so this is very much sort of interchangeable with the worthiness wound, with trauma. You know, it's very much worthiness wound can kind of be a synonymous term for trauma, a break in connection. But so I thought it was a perfect video to follow up with what is a trauma spiral? Because so how do we heal the worthiness wound? And so again, when our sense of unworthiness comes up, there's going to be the default response for human beings is one of two things. We either hide, think shame, a lot of shame is spiked up, I'm going to kill myself, suicidal ideations can come up when a lot of shame is triggered and activated. We're going to run away. I'm going to hide. I just want to retreat. I want to stay in bed. I just don't fucking want anyone to see me. I'm a piece of shit. Like I'm so stupid, right? So it's this idea that we want to disengage or eject from the fucking world, right? So the number one is that we want to hide. Number two is that we want to attack. Think like a narcissist, right? This is very common with narcissism. When narcissists feel threatened of any sort of exposure of their wounds or their flaws in any which way, their tendency is to attack, to attack, to gaslight, to cut people down, to go at people before they can be exposed, right? Because that narcissism is based, and this is not a video about narcissism, just so we know, but narcissism becomes a projection from a deep worthiness or a sense of unworthiness with lots and lots of trauma, right? So the two responses default of human beings are either to attack, which is really common in narcissism, or to hide, which is going to be really common if we have a lot of deep wounding, a lot of feelings of unworthiness, and we have a lot of shame. We have a lot of shame guarding our shadow aspects, our wounding, our little boy, our fragmented self, right? So we're either going to want to run away or we're going to want to attack. The way that we actually heal the worthiness wound is a third option. We don't hide and we don't attack, we surrender. We let the moment kill us. So think about it. Say your shadow is going to be exposed, or say a deep sense, maybe your woundedness or your flaws are going to be put on display. We're either going to want to retreat or we're going to want to attack, right? We're going to want to attack that person that's trying to hurt us. Let it kill you. And what I mean by let it kill you is descend into yourself. Move into the pain of that unworthiness within yourself. If you do that, nobody can fuck with you. Nobody can fuck with you. Because now as you descend into that, you're going to begin to digest and process that sense of unworthiness. Feel the fear, feel the grief, and feel the anger. Probably what's going to happen, there's probably going to be some amalgamation of rage, anger, fear, anguish, terror, shame, a deep sense of grief and sadness. All this amalgamation of emotions are going to come up, right? We're going to have compulsions to run away, to contract. But if we just let the moment kill us, meaning we fully descend into the heart of the little boy and we begin to approach ourselves with a sense of tenderness, lovingness, and compassion, right? This doesn't mean to say we did something that was out of integrity or we did something that we're not proud of. It doesn't mean to let ourselves off the hook. We need to challenge ourselves, call ourselves to be better. But it also means that we can still approach these deep-seated, hurt, unworthy parts within us with tender, loving compassion. With tender, loving compassion. So the opposite or the inverse of unworthiness is not worthiness, it's neutrality. So think about it. When we have a lot of unworthiness, there's a real charge around anyone seeing that sense of unworthiness or that unworthiness being exposed. There's a big charge. There's a big, big charge, right? And that's why we usually want to hide or we want to attack, because there's a really, really big charge. But once we actually digest the pain of that unworthiness, meaning the trauma, the hurt, the whatever we experience, the aspects of our little boy, when we actually feel that all the way through the body and digest, when we don't attack, we don't hide, we surrender. We let the fucking moment kill us. We let the moment kill us. When we do that, when we let the moment kill us, the charges of that unworthiness, we begin to move into more of a neutrality. And what you're essentially saying is that there's no aspect of myself that I haven't actively healed or I am not actively working to heal. Meaning there's no part of myself I'm not looking at. There's no stone that I haven't turned over. I am descending into every single fucking part of my human being, every single part of my wounded, flawed little boy. I'm moving into every single aspect of my little boy. And I'm beginning to feel all of that through the body. I'm sitting with everything. Then what happens is, say, for example, someone doesn't like you. You might be okay, well, that person doesn't actually know me. And I know myself so well because I've sat with every single aspect of myself, particularly my unworthiness. And so I know who I am. And I have this really tender, loving relationship with myself. So that person doesn't like me. I know they don't know me. So it has a lot less of a charge. That person doesn't like me, they don't know me, right? Maybe that person doesn't like you, and maybe they do know you, for example, but maybe there's something that you did. And so you might actually be like, I understand why they don't like me. It makes sense why they don't, from their vantage point with what they know, it makes sense. And again, when you've moved into that unworthiness and you've moved into the heart of your woundedness and everything that has maybe created behavior in your life where you've been out of integrity, that you can actually sit with and be like, hey, I understand why you're upset with me. I understand why you don't like me. For example, your partner. Say you're a man, you're in a relationship with a woman. She's angry about something you did. The real collective masculine wound is a sense that he's not good enough. But she's angry, upset with something that he did. If you've really descended into a lot of your unworthiness, you won't fight against what she's saying. You'll just listen to her. You'll actually create space for her experience and her emotions. All of a sudden, a situation that could spiral and create contention, become a trigger, become this thing that goes round and round, you simply respond, I totally understand why you feel the way that you do. I totally understand why you feel the way that you do. And you're not filtering it through a story. So here's the thing that kills the worthiness wound. The thing that keeps and persists the worthiness wound is our trauma, which lives at the heart of the worthiness wound, and the story. Remember in the last video about what is a trauma spiral, I talked about stories, how there's something that happens to us and now it becomes our own self-fulfilling prophecy to find ways to filter our entire reality from that situation or several situations and complexity of events that happened, and we filter it through that, which becomes a story, becomes a way of self-preservation, protection, so I don't have to feel the pain. But when you actually heal it, the story moves. So someone's upset with you. You don't have the story, I always fuck up, I'm a piece of shit. You responded from neutrality, no charge. I call this the God observation, meaning that you can see your trauma, you can see their trauma. You have a bird's eye view of everything. And you come back to love, you come back to grace. We don't need to fight. We can move into a space where everyone can be heard. And so you can hold your stuff enough so you don't move into a story. Even if you feel it prickling up a little bit, you don't filter that reality through that fucking story. Neutrality. You can listen. You can hear someone. I understand why you feel that way. I understand why you don't like me. Like, I actually get why you don't like me. It makes sense. It makes sense. Knowing what I know of you, maybe what you've heard about me, maybe what you know about me, maybe just based off your personality and the paradigm and reality that you filter your reality, I'm not triggered. I get why you don't like me. I'm in a place in my life where literally that's how I feel. When people don't like me, I kind of really put myself in the paradigm that they're in. And this doesn't happen all the time. I get triggered, obviously. But a lot of times I understand why they don't like me. I understand why they don't get me. I understand why I triggered them. I understand why I'm not for them. And there's no charge around it. It's actually just an extension of loving grace, of the diversity and differences in the human condition, experience, and personalities and purposes and what we're actually here to do. And there's no charge. Now you can live as your offering, right? Now you can live as your offering. You've digested the charges of that unworthiness, and now you're in more of a space of neutrality, which means that you can hold a newfound level of exposure in your life. People can see the most wounded tenderness. Yeah, these are aspects of me. These are things that I'm working on. You're allowing yourself to be an imperfect work in progress. You're not letting yourself off the hook. You're not challenging yourself. You're not allowing yourself to repeatedly, consistently be out of integrity, but you allow your mistakes and the ruptures that have created in your life to make you better, to descend you deeper into yourself, to look at yourself in a broader spectrum, to hold yourself. And there's a tenderness and compassion. And you can actually see where other people are viewing you from a story. When you have really dispelled these stories and moved into a space of neutrality, you can really, really feel when other people are looking at you through some type of trauma spiral, story. You can recognize when they're through some type of story, and you're actually, when you move to this place, you become a different paradigm, a different form of communicating, a return to love, a return to grace. Not everyone can meet you here. Some people want to continue in their stories. They're not ready to heal the unworthiness wound. They need to spiral in the traumas. They need to spiral in the traumas, and they're not ready to descend into that hurt yet. So they have to hide, they have to protect. They haven't been able to move into this neutrality. They haven't been able to hold this tenderness and loving grace with themselves. And you can recognize when people are looking at you through a story. You can recognize when people are filtering you through their own pain. You see it, it's blatantly clear. And you continue to be loving grace. You continue to be a space of neutrality. Meaning I'm just going to tenderly hold myself deeper. I'm going to face every single unworthy aspect of myself. I'm not going to run away. I'm not going to hurt people. I'm not going to adapt. I'm not going to project. I'm going to let the moment kill me. I'm going to surrender. I'm going to let this moment kill me so that I can be wiser and integrate to move into more of evolved vibration of my higher self that is trying to come through. And now, when I digest the unworthiness, the story removes, I move into more of a space of neutrality. And now I don't have to fight against people's upset. I understand why you're upset. I get it. I understand why you don't like me. You don't like me, that's okay. It's okay. I've descended into every single aspect of myself. I'm so okay with me. I'm so okay with me that I can hold that. And there's actually not a charge. There's not a charge. You're like, you actually don't know me, so that's so, so that doesn't offend me because I know you don't actually really know who I am. You don't see me, you don't understand me, so that's okay. And even if they do, and even if you did something that warrants their upset, you're like, I'm sorry that I did that. You're right. I'm working on all those aspects. I'm descending into them with myself. That's all I can do. And in that space, you're like, yeah, let's talk. You can handle a newfound level of exposure. This is where you move into your light, neutrality. Now you move into, let's return to love. Let's allow everyone to win. You're not filtering through your stories. You don't derail the ship. You don't move into sabotage patterns. You don't derail the ship and get off course. Let's move to love. This is where you live without regret. And you move into a space. How can we create something here? I'm looking at every aspect of myself. How can you be seen, me seen? How can we fucking create something? This becomes an invitation to a new paradigm of commuting and relating, where it becomes a constant form of evolution and creation. That's how you heal the worthiness one. You don't all of a sudden feel worthy. You feel neutral. There's no longer a charge in someone exposing. Yeah, that's my shadow. Yeah. I get it why you don't like me. So you don't have to run away. I call this the path of the tender warrior. You can be in this fierce lovingness of yourself, wide open. And you can be raw, authentic in the true innate spirit of your being without running, without attacking, being totally neutral in the vibration and connection to God and living your anthem as the authentic being and spirit that you are. This is the tender fucking warrior, the heart-led warrior, where you can allow your deepest pain and hurt, shadow to transmute into your greatness, your aliveness, your act of service and your message that you're here to bring. And when you do that, everything changes. That's how you heal the worthiness wound. You digest it, removes the stories, and move into a space of neutrality. And now the charge is dispelled and you can be ripe, heart blasted wide open, every little wounded aspect of yourself on display, and you can allow yourself to be seen and exposed so you don't have to attack, you don't have to run away. That's how you heal the worthiness wound.